Hi guys, this is Klazart and welcome to an SC2GG Commentary Idol special dual commentary. I've got the incredibly entertaining Hazel alongside me for what should be a great matchup between Flash and Best on Tears of the Moon. We've got Flash starting up here at the 2 o'clock position and we've got Best at the 6 o'clock position. I'm looking forward to some great StarCraft.
What I find really intriguing about this matchup actually is that it seems like a mirror matchup, not in terms of race, but in terms of playing style. Best and Flash are both macro monsters. They're known for their macro, so we might see a really long macro game, a really long epic macro game, but also they're similar in that they haven't been able to really shine in the individual leagues. Best, I believe, got second place in the ever OSL, but lost disappointingly to July 0-3, and Flash just hasn't been making a good showing. And one thing to consider is that maybe it's because Flash has been tired out by Pro League. Last season, he did seem to show that fatigue, incredible fatigue, that just didn't allow him to do as well as he would have hoped in the MSLs and the OSLs, and I hope that doesn't happen this time because Flash is an ultimate weapon and everyone uses him. He's probably 11-1 in Pro League right now, but I don't know if that's going to affect his play here. I don't know if Best will be able to just stomp over him because maybe he has more practice. Flash really hasn't been able to, I think, get any Terran v Protoss play in, especially in this group. He's been Terran v Terraning all over the place. Both players are 1-1, by the way, so this match is important. It's incredibly important. Whoever wins this match goes through, and whoever loses is just going to have to wait for another season.
Yeah, absolutely. Flash, obviously, it's a bit like going up against the Borg. The last thing you want to do is keep firing your phasers at them because they're going to adapt. And it's the same thing. You just can't keep expending Flash. He is a finite resource, and I think it is an absolute crime that the KTF coach just doesn't have any other decent players and continues to use Flash time and time again and fatigues him for and not allowing this great Terran Wonder Kid to perform to his maximum in the Star Leagues, which is really where he ought to be able to shine and to leave his mark. And wouldn't it be a shame if he faded into the background, having been such a monstrous player and yet never having really winning a lot of big tournaments like you would expect a player of his caliber to be able to do. So Flash obviously starting off getting Extractor first, then getting the racks. We've got one gate into CC for Best, and Flash looks like he sent the slightly earlier scout. It looks like Best actually might be scouting in the wrong direction, and those alien masks are cool. Where can I get one of those, Hazel? They look fantastic. But it did look to me for a second like Best is scouting in the wrong direction, so Flash is going to find him first, and he's going to have the scouting information on Best. Best now just getting his first sellout out.
I'd have to disagree with your fashion choice there. That alien mask, I'm not even sure why they're wearing that, to be honest. Maybe Best is known as the alien toss or something strange like that. But yeah, I think Best isn't going for 1cc, as you said. I think you might have just slipped up. But I think Best is going for, he has 3 popes on gas. He's going for something. He's going for, yeah, 1 gate core, and he is going to go for the Dragoon range, which I'm not sure how viable of an attack this is. This is Tears of the Moon, so you have a reverse ramp leading down to your natural, so if Flash if he gets greedy, if he goes for that 1 command center, Best might be able to just charge in there with a bunch of Dragoons. But okay, this Zealot is trying to get in, but it probably won't be able to as long as Flash micros. So this Zealot actually is not as good of a commitment of resources as Best might have hoped for. You really don't want to get that Zealot unless you're forced to, unless you can do some SCV damage. That Dragoon, in the meantime, is too large and too in charge to get through those probes. So what's interesting also about this match is just that I think both players really want it, really badly. Best wants to redeem himself. Flash wants to prove himself. He's still quite a young player. He's proved himself so well in Pro League, but we'll have to see if he can also prove himself here.
Yeah, it was an absolutely critical, unfortunately for Best, that his probe went in the wrong direction. Flash got his SCV in there, and Flash saw that first Zealot run by his SCV, and he knew where it was heading, so he was able to position the 2 SCVs on his ramp and 2 Marines behind it and prevent Best from getting any sort of scout off. And Flash, you can just see, is anticipating some sort of crazy play by Best, because he sent that SCV to scout at the 12 o'clock base just to make sure Best wasn't trying to build a proxy pylon there and maybe a proxy robotics facility to do something crazy. Flash has now got his first 5 or 6 Marines out. He's continuing to pump Marines out, so we might be seeing Flash be ready to apply some early pressure on her. I guess he's just anticipating the Dragoons coming out from Best, and therefore he's preparing for that. And it looks like Best has actually started up his Nexus, so Best now taking the expansion. Flash still with the one factory, still hasn't started building a command center or anything else. It'll be interesting to see how Flash goes, and whether or not he chooses to does choose to apply some pressure on Best early on. Best does have 3 Dragoons and a Zealot, so he's got a decent amount of force. Flash with the second attack out as well, so Flash can apply some pressure on Best. Best doing the right thing here, sending that probe out just to make sure, especially once he put that Nexus down, and he's going to see Flash's forces coming, and he's going to immediately cancel his Nexus. But I have to say, even though he did cancel that Nexus, that is going to put him a little bit behind, because he has lost some time there with the investment of those resources, and now Best starting up the second gateway, and Flash is going to be able to put some pressure on Best here, and he hasn't produced any vultures, so I wouldn't be surprised if Flash's spinning machine shop is actually going to give him siege mode, and if he's going to actually be able to even potentially lock Best into his base here.
Actually, what was really interesting, I think Best was going for that range attack, but he cancelled it when the SCV died and he went for robotics, and because of that, he was trying to go for Reavers, but it just didn't work out because Flash is going for the ground push. Best didn't go for the ground push, he was going for tech, but because of that, he doesn't have as many units as Flash does. Flash is retreating a little bit. That's strange, actually. Maybe he just doesn't feel comfortable enough to attack. Maybe he is anticipating Reavers now. I don't know how he would be able to do that unless he's completely prescient. Or maybe he just saw something else. But he does have mines preventing a Nexus from going up, so Best will have to wait for observers. He did use that robotics facility that didn't end up being a Reaver production facility. He can change that into just making observers, so this will help him out in the end. He doesn't have the second gateway that is really necessary to just fend off this attack. Well, he'll be fine as long as he stays above his ramp, I think. But if he just chooses to go for expansion, that might be incredibly risky because he just doesn't have as many units as Flash does right now. And Flash has so many Marines right now, I just have to say. That could be a very formidable force. But Flash is just choosing to go for the command center. It will be a little bit behind the Nexus. So maybe this game isn't as in Flash's favor as I thought previously.
Yeah, Flash obviously didn't see the Nexus, so because Best had that probot, he cancelled the Nexus straight away. So Flash, when he didn't see the Nexus, when he pushed out, he assumed that perhaps Best was going for a tech, and that's why he pulled his forces back in anticipation of the Reaver, and that's why we saw the turret go down in Flash's main. But obviously Flash had no way of knowing what Best was doing. But I still think Flash is actually quite a way ahead, because Best did try and put that Nexus down, and then he was forced to cancel it, and Flash's command center starting up at the same time as Best's Nexus, even though that was what Best's original build was, I think probably puts Flash slightly ahead, and I think Flash is with his ability to macro hugely, he's gonna be in a good position here, because Best hasn't really done any harass. He still hasn't gotten a shuttle out, he hasn't gotten a Reaver out, and in Terran versus Protoss versus Terran, if you don't do any sort of harass to a Protoss player's economy, it's not to a Terran player's economy, and just let a monster macro player like Flash just grow at will, you're not going to really find yourself in a good position. You might find yourself overrun sooner than you expect, and I think that Best has hurt himself here, and I think it might start to tell in the middle and late game.
But what we have to remember is that Best is also macro monster himself. He is known for his macro. He might not, he's just behind economically right now, so he's going to have to do something, but he can't right now, I think. Flash just is so solidified in his position right now. He has turrets all over the place. Reavers would be too late to do much damage now, and he also has just so many tanks, so many Marines out there. I'm not sure how much of an investment those Marines will prove to be as soon as something like Reavers or Psystorm comes out, but at the moment he is quite ahead. He's entrenched in his position, it looks like. I don't know if Best is going to choose to send a few Dragoons. It looks like he is on the minimap, or maybe he's just trying to protect his ramp for a little bit. So right now, I think what Best needs to do is just get his own macro up and just do something, harass, send in a shuttle of man zealots or something, or just attack carefully, but just be able to do some economic damage to Flash, who, if you let him just sit in his base alone, he'll regret it so much. So hopefully he won't do that. He won't just sit back and he'll attack. It looks like he's trying to get a position out there. He has a lot of observers out. This is actually really smart on Best's part, because you really want to be able to have as much surveillance, because in StarCraft, intelligence really is golden.
Yeah, absolutely, and Best investing in those observers, hopefully they'll pay off for him. He's now putting the Stargate down, he's got the Templar Archives down, so it looks like we are going to be seeing Arbiters from Best, and Best does realize that we're going to be seeing fast Arbiters, so he's decided to get a fast Arbiter out, because obviously Best is in a difficult position. Flash with the economic advantage, he knows that he needs to do something different. Flash now trying to get that SCV sneaking in, if that SCV goes up, it's going to be absolutely critical, and Best just about gets the kill on the SCV. If that SCV had made it up that ramp, Best would have been crying, but looks like Flash is actually now ready to make a push out, and Best is going to have to be able to hold this. I'm not sure if Best has enough to be able to hold this because he just doesn't have the military force on the ground. Best actually running away from Flash's forces, trying to get a flank off. Flash has seen that. Best still with the observer following Flash's forces. He's going to try and catch Flash in the middle with his forces. I don't think he has enough Zealots, unfortunately, and Flash realizes that he has a lead, and then Flash now going to siege post. Best trying to come in, and Flash catches some of Best's Dragoons out of position, and Best loses. I think Best actually managed to save his Dragoons there. Took a little bit of damage, but he managed to save it, and Flash now pushing in with the Vultures, trying to set Siderines up on Best's ramp. Best does have the Dragoons and the Observers well enough position, so he hasn't allowed Flash to trap him in his base. So good play by Best there. He's just slowing Flash's push down just that little bit, but he's going to have to do something quickly. It's going to be still a little bit of time before that Arbiter kicks into play for him. Flash obviously has to wait for those turrets to go up before he can continue to advance against, obviously wanting to guard against the Zealot bombs as well as the Observers. But Best is in a huge amount of trouble here, and Flash isn't the kind of player that I think you can give this sort of advantage to and be able to come back comfortably from it, and Best is going to have to play absolutely out of his skin to be able to rescue this matchup.
It's so strange. I was just saying how Flash was just so entrenched in his own base. Now he's entrenched right outside of Best's base, and this is not a position that you want to be when you are a Protoss. I have to say, Tears of the Moon isn't exactly the best Protoss v Terran map for Protoss, just because there is that upper ledge. The only thing that Best has for him right now is that Flash isn't on that ledge. Luckily for him, otherwise, if Terran had the upper ground, this game might actually be over. But luckily, he's giving up the ramp. He doesn't have enough units, I think, to support just going and attacking Flash's base, so he has retreated a little bit to his base. Hopefully he'll be able to set up a flank soon, because he really needs to. He needs to just get those Dragoons, get those Zealots, 1A, 2A, 3A in a nice position. This is kind of looking bad, and I think what was critical behind Best build is that he cancelled his first gateway. He went for tech, and then, I mean, he didn't cancel his first gateway, he cancelled range. He didn't get a second gateway, and he went for tech, but he didn't do anything with that tech. So that's why he's just behind. He's at such a deficit right now.
Well, he didn't exactly go for tech. He tried to get that Nexus up, if you remember. Then he was forced to cancel it, and then went for tech. So he was really struggling. He was really behind right from that point. The only thing that Best has going for him right now is that he's got that group of about 6 to 8 Dragoons outside of that contain that Flash has set up. So he is able to set up a mini sort of flank. Flash, interesting enough, has not taken his second gas, and that's very interesting that Flash hasn't actually taken his second gas. But Flash obviously can protect his siege tanks with his Vultures. But Flash continued to just put the stranglehold on Best. If Best can break this out, he will be in a decent position. But Flash now almost within range of Best's natural expo. He's now putting those spider mines right outside Best's natural expo, and Flash is now actually able to shell. And now Best being forced to come in with the shuttle. He's going to actually lose the shuttle to try and take that siege tank down. And Best has lost his first shuttle, unfortunately for him, and he's really in huge trouble now. He's got the Arbiter out, but can he hold off in time? And is the Arbiter actually going to be able to do what he needs it to do? He has amassed a decent sized ground force. He's got a lot of Zealots in there. Flash doesn't have a lot of Vultures, and that's the one thing that is counting for Best. But he really needs to do something now. It looks like he is going in now. He's going to be coming in with the Zealots, supported by the Dragoons. Flash is entrenched up above the ramp. Best is going to try and come in. Best has a lot of Zealots though, and Flash doesn't seem to have the Vultures to be able to deal with this. So it looks like Best might actually be able to break this contain. Best with just so many Zealots, and Flash is actually unseating some of his tanks and pulling back. Great play by Best. He saw that Flash didn't have enough Vultures, and Flash is now bringing hastily Vultures into the fort to try and defend that last position. But Best is actually going to break out of this contain, and this game is now wide open. And Flash, remember, still didn't get the second gas, so I'm not sure how far ahead, if at all, he is in the economy. He just seems to have forgotten all about getting the gas at his natural expo. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if it's just a mistake by Flash.
Yeah, Flash just had such a nice stranglehold position there, but I guess it wasn't as nice as you thought. Now he is trying to do some Vulture harass in the back just to even out the game, just to buy himself some time to rebuild his tanks, because Terrans really need tanks. But yeah, in that past, just that encounter in the center on the ramp, he just, I don't know, he just didn't have his Vultures out in time. He kind of gave up. He had the higher ground, but Best had the flank, and because of that, I think he just lost that huge macro just encounter right there. And now the Arbiter is out, so the Arbiter will be able to do some interesting things. It will be able to just have cloak their units, cloak Best units, so that you know, tanks just Flash will have to waste his scans. He won't actually know what Best is going for. Arbiters are quite advantageous in that regard because what happens is you waste your scans on the army and then you can't really scan when the Protoss expands, and the Protoss will probably be expanding all over the place as soon as he can, getting a third. I'm not sure if he is getting a third or if those are just military units right now, and okay, those are just Dragoons.
Yeah, and Flash is trying to set up a contain again just outside Best's ramp. He's got quite a lot of vultures this time, not so many tanks. He's only got a couple of tanks. Now the Arbiter's coming in around for Best. Looks like Best might be trying to circle around and do a recall into Flash's base. And if that happens, Flash is going to find himself in a huge amount of trouble. But Flash has seen the recall coming. He's got the spider mines there. Best is not aware of this, so Flash is immediately pulling his vultures back into his base, trying to get them in there in position in time for the recall from Best. Again, I just don't understand how Flash could have failed to not have put that second gas. Why hasn't he taken a second gas? Can Hazel explain to me why? But now Best is coming in with a recall. Flash is positioned. It looks like Best is going to recall right on top of Flash's SCVs, and Flash is going to take a lot of economic damage here. Flash in huge trouble. Best recalling a bunch of Dragoons and Zealots, and Flash doesn't really have enough to be able to deal with this. He has got siege tanks in position. He's lost a few SCVs in the process. He should be able to defend this because he's pulled his siege tanks back, and Best hasn't done, actually, in fairness, Best hasn't done a lot of damage. He killed a few SCVs, but I'm surprised Flash didn't pull his SCVs out when he saw those, when he saw that Arbiter coming in, and he knew that that Arbiter was coming for him. And now Best is actually attacking his supply depots, and we all know that the supply depots are the underbelly of the Turtle Terran, and Flash in a huge amount of trouble here. Best is really taking control of this game, despite being slightly behind early on. Flash seems to have just made error after error for some reason, and this game is swinging firmly in Best's favor, and Flash looks like he's going to be actually in trouble in this group.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, oh, Flash, with a visible sign, he just looks completely resentful of the fact that somehow he just lost the advantage that he really firmly had earlier in the game. But I was gonna say, Best did such a great job with just choosing where to recall all his units. He could have gone for the factories, as most Protosses do. They go straight for the unit production facilities, but somehow maybe had an observer there, but he knew, oh yeah, he does have an observer there, so he missed the minefield and went straight for the command center, and that was just a really nice tactical decision on Best's part. Best is now pushing into Flash's base. I don't think Flash has anything to deal with this. He has 2 tanks on the ridge. That ridge will help him for a while until Best gets some Zealots, gets some Arbiter support to maybe stasis those tanks, but Flash looks like he's in so much trouble right now. He has no map control either. You can see it. There's no teal anywhere on the mini-map except in that tiny location, that central location where his main base is. He really doesn't have any tanks at this point either, or vultures, so I don't know what he can do to just get back from this. Maybe he can just get some really nice vulture harasses. I don't think that'll do it. I don't think, oh, maybe if Best keeps walking into mines, that'll do something. But vultures are coming out. This is what the Terran usually does when he's behind. He sends out a bunch of vultures because you have enough minerals to do so, and then you just go snipe probes, and hopefully we'll see that happen right now.
Yeah, I mean, Flash still hasn't put his second gas down. It seems to be almost like almost a masochistic maneuver on his part. He is trying to get in range of that second expansion or the third nexus of Best's, which has gone up at that 9 o'clock position. But yeah, I mean, it almost seems like a masochistic decision by Flash to not take that second gas, as if, you know, I'm going to play with 1 less gas than the Protoss just to make it fair. I don't understand why, even till now. Is it just a complete mistake? I'd love to read the interview of this game afterwards to see if Flash just completely forgot about that gas, thought he'd put it up and never put it up the entire game. But I just can't understand how he would not notice that he hasn't taken the gas at his natural expo. It's not like he's got any SCVs waiting idle by it anyway, so it's not like he's accidentally clicked on it or something. So I don't know why. I don't know why he would have, and that's the only explanation I can think of, other than obviously Best's stellar play. Flash once again trying to set up a position in the middle, and Best is unfortunately for Flash, he doesn't have enough units to hold the middle and defend his base. Best got a huge army in the middle of the map, and he's going to use a recall probably right in Flash's base, and Flash just doesn't have the units to defend in both positions. And it looks like Flash is just gonna really pay a heavy price there, and he doesn't have enough turrets to ward off the observers in his main either. And Best is going to recall right on top of Flash's tanks in the middle. Great feint by Best, and Flash is going to have to GG here. It's just huge trouble.
Completely die. Yeah, but those Dragoons just completely died when Best recalled straight onto those tanks. And I think we're having a little bit of syncing issues, but I'm not sure, because I just saw those Dragoons die way earlier. But actually Flash is GGing. There was nothing he could do, even though those Dragoons completely melted under fire. Best just had enough Dragoons to support that. So I don't know what happened this game. Flash just lost his position at the ridge right outside of best base. He never got his second gas, which means he never got his tanks. I know that a lot of people say Flash is stubborn and Flash, you know, goes always for the 1cc. He's confident enough in his play, but I don't think he's that cocky to not get a gas in a TVP. So I'm not sure what happened in this game.
Yeah, I think Flash was going to look at that replay and kick himself. You can see that Best is absolutely jubilant. He thought he was behind, and he just cannot understand how he's managed to pull out the win. But it's still a win for Best, and what that means is that Flash is now 1-2 down in this group, and that means that Best is 2-1 up. So Flash is really, his fate isn't in his own hands anymore, because now the result of the other game in the group is going to decide his fate. And I'm not sure that's a position he wants to be in. But hopefully, I guess it's going to come down to Huashin versus UpMagic, and depending on which of those players win, Flash might find himself in a lot of trouble. But GG nonetheless, and it's been great having Hazel to cast alongside me. Just want to once again tell you guys to check out the SC2GG Commentator Idol. I hope you guys enjoyed this dual commentary. Go to SC2GG.com and vote for your favorite commentator in the finals, because you guys get to decide the next commentating star.
Alright, the judges have just watched Hazel's dual commentary with Klazart, and we're going to hear opinions from Klazart first. Klazart, you can talk also a little bit about your experience doing that dual commentary with her, and then we'll hear comments from Peanut and Rise.
Yeah, first of all, I know we're supposed to ask questions later, but Hazel, who was that complete noob moron commentator that you were trying to deal with? He was horrible. You should completely and utterly ditch him. Okay, that was a rhetorical question. Being serious, I actually enjoyed casting with Hazel a lot. I was again pleasantly surprised by the level of her technical knowledge. I think beforehand, you know, sometimes it doesn't come through how much she actually knows. Some of her nervousness seemed to leak into me as well, because I said CC when I wanted to say Cybernetics Core. Of course, theoretically, you could abbreviate Cybernetics Core to CC, but obviously I was trying to say Cybernetics Core, and I said CC, which was idiotic of me. But yeah, I enjoyed doing the commentary with Hazel. There was a couple of times where there was a lag spike and there was a little bit of a gap, but overall I think our styles contrasted quite well. We actually did a practice commentary before this one. I did one with both the candidates, and in the practice commentary we did a Zerg versus Zerg, and what I liked about it was that when I mentioned my own not fondness for Zerg versus Zerg, Hazel had no problems putting me in my place and telling me exactly how enjoyable Zerg versus Zerg was and how I should be enjoying it. So I think she gets a lot of credit for being able to put me in my place. But overall, I think she did a great job. I really enjoyed it, and I had fun casting with her.
Hi Hazel. I wanted to say congratulations for surviving that experience. I'm very well aware that doing a dual commentary on also this particularly epic game with Klazart can be rather intimidating. I would be intimidated myself, but I think you did it with style. I think you adapted pretty well. I could hear in some instances when you were sort of speeding up to match his pace, although you would really have to speed up a lot to match Klazart's pace. And yeah, I thought you were a pretty good pair. Of course, there were the lag issues, which I think may have been the reason for some of the really long pauses. But of course, that's something that goes away with time and more experience commentating. I would say you should have put Klazart in his place a little bit more, but I understand that sometimes that can be.
Mrs. Klazart does that all the time anyway.
Well, yeah, but you know, Mrs. Klazart has a lot more experience doing that.
Hi Hazel, how you doing? I liked the dual comedy for the most part. I thought that it was pretty well done. I did think that at sometimes you kind of let Klazart take some of the action parts, which, gotta be honest, isn't really a bad thing to do, because you can rely on your partner of a dual commentary, especially when you know their strengths, and one of Klazart's strengths obviously is doing the heavy action-packed moments where he can do 1,000 words per minute. Now, where you kind of shine though was in the lulls of the action, you gave us a lot of insight into what was going on, what options each player had, what was good, what was bad about their builds, what they could do in order to improve their positions. With the only negatives really in the entire commentary being the fact that you had some transitional issues, whether they were from lag spikes or whatever, it came through on the viewer's end, like just a little bit painful to hear in the one instance in particular, like 3/4 of the way through, and it was just like it was almost like a Parse X-esque type of transition where he just let go of the button too soon, and I didn't know if you were done talking, and then Klazart, you know, obviously Klazart being Klazart knew to jump in right away. So again, not something that most people would even notice, I don't think, but that was just something that I noticed, and I would, you know, ask you to just keep in mind when going forward, usually try to end your statements in a dual commentary with some definite moment so the other person knows to go. But overall, good job and enjoyable to listen to, especially in a game like that.
Okay, any questions for the judge from the judges for Hazel right now?
Yeah, this isn't really a question, but almost a closing statement. After dueling with Kenny, I felt you got slightly the luck of the draw, getting Flash versus Best, but then obviously Flash failed to deliver, so it actually turned out pretty even in the end. But I mean, were you happy with the game choice that you had in terms of dual commentating? Did you feel it was a good game to duel?
Well, I didn't exactly have a choice per se. Colorado just flipped a coin, but I did like that we were casting Flash v Best. I don't think I could have done as well on Tester versus Lita. I mean, Lita is a very good player, but Tester is someone I haven't really heard of, so I did think that I had just a better time casting people who I knew. I was able to interact with them more just because I know and love Flash and Best.
I have a question. So, Klazart got to talk a little bit about his experience casting with you. Can you tell us a little bit how it felt to be casting with Klazart?
To be honest, it's a little bit intimidating because Klazart speaks so fast. And part of dual commentary that just I still have a little bit of trouble with is being able to multitask even more than a solo commentary, listening to what your partner is saying and then watching the game and then thinking of what you're going to say. So sometimes things get like lost in translation, but it was a really enjoyable, really teaching experience, so it was nice.
I got a question for you too. This is going to be my last question for you as a Idol contestant, but hopefully you can answer it as well as you would any other. Do you think that after Commentator Idol is over, you will become a phone sex operator?
You know, I actually had I had people suggest that.
I do that in my spare
not
time.
in that way. But
You know,
someone...
if you do, let me know and I'll put you in my 5 and I'll be calling you every day.
Oh, thank you. No, I had people recommending me to, for the final episode to use a sex voice, and it was really terrible.
I think you did.
Wait, we can use our judge status to hit on the contestants? I didn't know that.
I think her sex voice is actually her normal voice. It goes backwards.
I think... Yeah, actually I've been doing a lot of thinking about this phone sex thing. Hazel, maybe you and I should go into business. I think it'd be extremely profitable.
Oh yeah, we should.
We just aim at the nerd demographic.
Players.
Yes, exactly. They would, yeah, they'd totally pay for that.
You want to put your pylon in my mineral patch?
Do women of today have absolutely no
marine
integrity?
into my
Oh my god.
That wasn't a manor
Oh, don't be all high and mighty, Klazart.
Oh my god. Mrs. Klazart would have a fit.
Okay, and with that, we're going to be concluding the judging session for Hazel overall. Thank you very much for participating in the Idol, and thank you judges for giving your opinions. We'll be moving on to Tasteless's comments right now. Thank you.